Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I am so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and help you stay social. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I'm so excited to have Nate Sheen with me. Welcome, Nate.
Hey, how you doing today? Glad to be here on Biz Gone Social.
I'm really excited to have you here. And could you tell my audience a little bit about what you do and who you serve?
Yeah, so I own a company. It's in the industry called a managed service provider. And essentially what we do is we become the IT department for small businesses, or the IT department's assist for those little bit larger companies. So we do everything from take care of their computers and their servers to make sure the Wi-Fi works, or keep them from getting hacked, or when they have been hacked, get them back to functioning. So that's my company in a nutshell, and I own it, and I have a team that works for me, and we're in over 8 years of business at this point.
Wow, that's kind of, I feel like you're like a secret service agent trying to get all those hackers. And I'm a hater of hackers. Tell me a little bit, how do you prevent somebody from hacking you?
Yeah, and I like to always disclaim, not all hackers are bad. There's good and bad hackers out there. So I like to call myself a good hacker, because you have to understand the systems and try to break them. So the bad hackers, or sometimes they're called bad actors, the best way to prevent them is really good policies in place, and not necessarily having like HR policies, but it comes down to you have doors on your house, right, Lorraine?
Absolutely.
Do you have locks on your doors?
Yes.
Do you lock your doors at night?
No.
Okay, so think about that. So there are locks and controls
Don't tell anybody.
on your computers. And a lot of times what we find is they aren't properly turned on, they aren't properly implemented, or the wrong people are giving keys to the wrong people. And that is really what it comes down to, is auditing those processes, making sure those who have keys should have keys, and making sure those locks are actually locked when they're supposed to be locked. And so that's a lot of what we do in that function of keeping people from being hacked. And so that's a little bit of it in the nutshell.
Love that. So, why do you think hackers hack?
For money, for fame, because they can. They make a lot of money off of hacking. It's not really reported. So the statistics take a little bit of time to catch up, but the last statistic was in the hundreds of billions of ransomware paid out. That's just what they report, because most ransomware is not reported. In 60% of all hacks, ransom gets paid out. And did you know what? In the United States of America, it's illegal to pay hackers ransom, and yet it still happens 60% of the time, because they didn't have a plan in place to stop it. They weren't actively watching it, and so they ended up just paying it. And here's one other really scary statistic. If you got ransomware once, you're actually 50% more likely to get ransomware twice, because now they already know your system. They've got you in a CRM, just like what you have, to figure out all your customers, of who your prospects are, who your clients are, all those things. They already know everything about your system. Why not come after you again? When you're good for the ransom once, why not twice?
Yeah, to me, that's pretty scary, actually.
Yeah. So we try not to live in the fear world here. I really don't market to fear. We don't really talk about those statistics a lot. We just talk about how we can actually communicate well. Hey, we can help you. That's what we stand for. We stand for actually building good trust and good systems. And if you're all about that, then that's the type of business we have. I don't like to scare people, because the world's scary enough. You already know it's bad. So how can we become your trusted partner to make sure that this doesn't happen to you?
And when it comes to cybersecurity, what would you say is the very first thing that you do for most of your clients out there?
I think just having an understanding of what you have. What we have learned so much as a business owner or even an IT manager comes to us and we say, hey, what do you have that we need to protect? They say, we don't know. We have no idea what we have here. And so they just haven't even documented the things. So the first thing we do is we just start writing down how many computers, what are those computers, what's in those, what's contained in those, when was the last time they were updated, starting to really research and understand what's there. So anybody could do themselves a really big favor by just clearly documenting all the things they have, and then actually having a professional going through and saying, there's an issue with this, you really got to replace this, or this needs to be updated, and getting a plan of action of actually taking care of those things. The companies that use companies like mine, and there's a lot of companies like mine out there in the world, you're less likely to be hacked. I won't say you won't ever be hacked, but you're way less likely. You're less low-hanging fruit.
Now, is there, there's a lot of softwares out there that, like McAfee, and I can't think of others offhand, but a lot of people think if they go out and buy those things that they're safe. Is that true, false, or do some of these softwares actually even leave you open to more of an attack?
Not necessarily. So just like having a McAfee or any other antivirus software can't be your total your total cybersecurity plan. So I'll go back to the lock scenario. So you have locks in your house, and let's say you do lock your doors at night. Lorraine locks her doors at night, everybody. Okay. Somebody needs to be responsible for walking around and locking the doors every night. And what we often see is, okay, we bought McAfee. We're good, right? Well, who's checking to make sure if there is an issue, what do you do when that issue happens? Because there's two types of companies. This is a buzzword, but there's ones who have been hacked and ones who will be hacked. And they're going to find a vulnerability in that. So not just one thing. It's having some software, having good procedures, and actually having good eyes and ears watching your systems to take care of that is what's important. So McAfee or any other antivirus is just one piece in a really big puzzle.
Yeah. So, how did you get into this? I mean, did you wake up one day and say, gee, I want to help companies with their cybersecurity? Or did it, it was something that you always wanted to do, something you liked? How did you get into this?
A little bit of a natural evolution. I'll say that most IT guys end up in a security role at some point in their career because they didn't know who else to give it to, so it became the IT guy's fault or responsibility to deal with. So, growing up, I was just one of those computer nerds who played around with computers and built websites and did things on the internet that we won't talk about. So then I went to trade school, said, hey, might be fun to get into computers. And I really liked it. And I worked in the industry. And I think since about 18 years old, I was doing something for someone with computers. Fixing, even before then, I don't know. Back when I was in high school, everybody would call me from the most random places. Hey, I hear you know a little bit about computers. Can you come fix mine? And it was always funny to me. I'd be like, I don't know how the heck you heard my name or something. But back then it was just kind of the Wild West of some kid knows computers. He must be good. We'll have him come fix it. And so I finally, grew up and did some different things and decided I really needed to do this myself for real this time. And it really took off for us. And security is a huge part of that world. And it was one of the strategies we knew we'd have to go into and lead with and say, if I'm going to be your IT company, we need to really lead with security for you.
Yeah. And what makes you better than all the other IT companies out there?
Well, there's lots of IT companies out there. A lot of them are just as competent as we are. They have very competent people on there. I really say the reason that clients work with my company at Astoria is what we stand for. Our vision here at Astoria is to uplift people higher than technology. We want to care about the humanity that is you. We want to leave a legacy for people coming behind us. And that can be the legacy tomorrow, whether I'm going to document everything I do today so that when you, Lorraine, look at the system tomorrow, you say, oh, I know what Nate did. I don't have to go ask him. And it's not just kind of a mess around there as well. we're really, really big on establishing trust with our owners. So we take a lot of time because it's a C-level job, what we do. We really have a seat at that business owner's table, whether it's your attorney, your accountant, your IT, your security person is sitting at that table with you and say, I don't really understand what you do, but I need to know that I can trust you. And so we work really hard on making sure that they can trust us, that we can uplift them and make them feel like they're human again, and they're not just going to be talked down to about the things they don't know, and that we actually leave a legacy now and for 10 years down the road that your systems were taken care of just like they were our own.
I love that. I love the human side of this. And speaking of the human side of things, this is the part of the show right now where we get a little real. What do you love the most about being in business for yourself?
I really love I'm going to go back to the humanity. I love the human connection of people. I love that I have the flexibility to care about people at a level I was not able to as an employee, not because the people I ever worked for before weren't good people or didn't care about people. It's just you aren't able to have the flexibility when you're working in somebody else's system. So now I've been able to build a system where I believe I can take care of people in the way that I think is right and really stop and say, hey, I need to talk to that person today, or I need to look after that person today. And I think that's what I love the most. It allows me to be flexible for that. And then again, just being flexible for my family as well. Like if at a moment's notice, drop of a hat, my son's school calls, there's no question. I just go do it. I just go take care of that thing. And it's just, that has been an amazing thing for me. And I couldn't imagine doing anything else just because of some of the great people I work with. Like the one thing I would miss the most if all of this ended tomorrow would be the people. Like I'd be like, can we still hang out? Like the company's bankrupt. Can we hang out still though? Like I would be sad about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody talks about the glamour of owning their own businesses, and everybody thinks that, wow, it's really cool that you do that. However, we both know that there's some struggles. What would you say is the number one struggle that you have in today's world when it comes to owning your own business?
Oh, wow. Well, when I sit in my 2012 F-150 that's got a couple of rust spots on it, dreaming about my Ford Mustang I'll have one day. And I'll tell you what, I love driving an F-150. Don't get me wrong. So, and I think people think about cars and things as the glamour. I think it's the biggest thing is mental when it comes to this kind of any type of entrepreneur thing. Like I always thought, man, if I just had another $100,000, things would be better, right? Or if I could even give me 25 today, I'll take 25,000, whatever the number may be that day to fix whatever problem I have. And it's really about, you know what, I'm going to pick up today and I'm going to have a good attitude about what I'm going to do because I'm building something that is mine, that is, I get to get up every day and go to my company and do my work. And that is so exciting to me. I really get to have ownership of it. But it has been such a struggle just mentally where I've battled a lot of bouts of depression during this business. And then before this business in my younger years, I battled a lot of suicidal thoughts and had to work through that. I went to counseling because of this business. I was led to, I need to go to counseling, and was really able to work through some of those issues with a counselor. And now I'm like so much more aware of being able to not only know when I need a minute and to struggle with, I'm not feeling good today. I'm depressed. I'm down. I don't know why. It's a beautiful sunny day. Everybody's happy around me. Or understanding that I have so much anxiety. Like one of the biggest struggles I had for the longest time, I remember going to the zoo with my family. And I was like, could not be present there the entire day because I was so anxious that something would go wrong at work that day because I wasn't there controlling everything. And that's been one of my biggest struggles. And the best thing I did for myself was get myself out of my own way and start learning to trust other people and manage things for me. So that when I say, I'm going to go to that conference or I'm going to go on that vacation, call me if you need anything. They take care of business for me. And that has been the most freeing thing that I've been able to learn.
That's awesome. One piece of universal advice that you could give to a business owner or somebody who wants to be a business owner, what would that be?
Oh, wow. One piece of universal advice. I would say surround yourself with good cheerleaders. Um, Everybody will tell you what you're doing wrong. It just drives me crazy. They'll show up and be like, this isn't right. You should do it this way. You should do it that way. I feel like those voices aren't there anymore unless I go look for them now. Like after 8 years, you're like, do people say that? And I just feel like I've muted them out now. Like people make suggestions and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But this is how I do things and it works for me. But man, those first couple of years, they were so loud of like negative voices of you're never going to make it. You're doing it wrong. You sure you got your business plan worked out? I'm not really sure if that thing's going to work for you. Don't listen to those voices. Get some good cheerleaders around you. I'll say one of my best cheerleaders has always been my wife. I've tried to quit a couple of times and she sit me down and say, you are not going to quit. I am not going to listen to you complain about how you should have stayed in that business or how you're going to start another one. This is the one you're going to do. Stop. You can do this. Now take a break and then get back up and do it again. And then she has been my best cheerleader through all of this.
I love that. I love that. So if somebody resonated with you today, how would they get in touch with you?
So you can check out my website at trustastoria.com. That's my MSP website. Or if you want to talk one-on-one about mental health, business ownership, I love to chat about that stuff. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm just under Nate Sheen. I love chatting with people about stuff. Take meetings anytime. I love talking about whether it's technologies, sales and marketing, market moves, or any other random thing. So I'm just really easy to reach that way.
That's awesome. I want to thank you again for being a really great guest on my show. And until next week, I will see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at BizGoneSocial for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.